Well, good morning. Another day, another sunshiny day, another bright, blinding, can't see a thing because the sun's in your face day. Even though I'm going the other direction, which is a good thing. So I'm not going to be blinded for the moment because usually I'm going the other direction. So that's one thing I like about my job is I can go either direction. Not supposed to, but I can. Anyway, did you ever have a time where you got in trouble and you don't think you deserved it, but you got in trouble anyway? I know there was a time where I was in school, kid pushed me, excuse me, I turned around and punched the kid. He went down, I jumped on top of him, started wailing on him. My football coach pulled me off. I got in trouble. I deserved it, rightfully so. At the time, I was upset. The kid hit me first. I was self-defense. I should not have been suspended. I got an in-school suspension. So they sent a letter in the mail home. I intercepted the letter on the way home because mail would come out about the same time that we got home from school. So I just took the mail, took the one letter, put it in my bag, and said I got mail for me, and took it in my room and put it in my drawer. Forgot about it. And several days suspension. I didn't deserve it. Kid pushed me. Kid tried to fight me first. Here to find out the kid got pushed into me because people were trying to get me to fight. And I refused pretty much throughout my lifetime. I've had several, especially when you're in school, I'm a bigger boy, so they always want to fight the bigger boys, try to prove themselves. And I was never one of those type that really cared. But there's one time I did. Kid pushed me. I hit back. Went off on the kid. Got in trouble. I felt bad. About a month later, we made up. No big deal. Kid said I definitely had a good right hook. But yeah, I mean, the point was not the fight. The point I'm getting to is the fact that I fought. I got in trouble. I paid a consequence. About 10 years later, 12 years later, I really don't know how long later, I eventually told my dad that, hey, I had a letter in the mail that you were supposed to get. You never got it. Really? Yeah. I got suspended when I was in junior high. Oh, that's nice. Obviously, at that point, it was too late for my dad to really do anything or to care at that point. But, I tried to hide it. The point I'm getting to is very simple. There is a lot of talk about our country not going to bat for Brittany Griner. Now, I'm not making a video to be all negative or whatever. But she can't be home with her family. She can't be home to play sports. She can't be home to do this or that. In most jobs, if you go to prison, first of all, if you do a crime, you get in trouble. When I got in my fight, I got suspended from school. Plain simple. I didn't think I deserved it at the time. I look back, I fought, I threw a punch. I should have been in trouble. I was in trouble. My dad should have found out. Somehow I got lucky and he didn't. Until I told him many, many years later. At that point, there's nothing he can do. But I still had a consequence. Regardless of what I did, I had a consequence. O.J. Simpson, whatever the case, guilty or innocent, put a bunch of money into lawyers to try to keep out of jail, still went to jail. Bill Cosby went to jail. I can go on and on and on about all the people that have had consequences. You do a crime, you're going to pay the consequences. Brittany Griner. I'm not all about the woke culture. I'm not all about acceptance. I'm about reality. I'm all about feel good, but I'm all about reality. And the reality is, if you do a crime, you should be punished. You got consequences. If you're guilty, you should be consequences. Oh, they took that tent down. A bunch of holes in it. I'm here to, LeBron James is going on and on about how our country's not going home. She should just stay where she's at. Here's the reality of it. We have freedoms from our military to be the country that we are, to have the freedoms that we have, to be able to do the things that we do. For example, back in the 50s, if LeBron James would have said something, back in the 1950s even, if LeBron James would have said something, they would have told him to shut up, sit down, and you don't have a voice. Can't vote, can't go in a white restaurant, can't go do this, do that. Today, he's able to say whatever he wants, and that's his God-given right. He's allowed to say whatever he wants. Our military men fought for everybody to say what they want to say, whether you like the U.S., whether you don't like the U.S. Personally, I'm at the mind, if you don't like it, get out. It's that simple. But he has every right to say what his opinion is. Just like I have a right to say, if you don't like it, get out. But he has a right. And he is an athlete. The problem I have, I think, with the whole scenario is, number one, everybody is saying women have to have equality. And I'm all for that. The problem is, they want equality in big money markets. Megan Rapinoe wants money in soccer. Brittany Griner and the basketball wants money in basketball. The question mark I have is, do they bring in the kind of profits that like LeBron James would bring in? No, not even close. And I said this online. And again, I'm not making a big fuss, but I'm talking reality here. The thing is, when an NBA team, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, I already said him, Scottie Pippen. You go to football, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning even. Don't really care for him, but that's just my opinion. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Eric Metcalf, Webster Slaughter, Bernie Kosar. I'm a Browns fan, so that's why I know them so well. Tim Couch, baseball, Albert Pujols, Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco. Although he had some bumps on the head from balls going over the fence, being home runs after it hits him in the head. That's a funny video. Nolan Ryan, Raleigh Fingers, I'm sure. Babe Ruth, probably back in the day. People wanted to have his jersey. Willie Mays, DiMaggio, Alex Rodriguez. The names just go on and on and on. I can name off name after name after name. Hockey, Wayne Gretzky. Again, I can go on. Tiger Woods and golf. Phil Nicholson. I mean, the list goes on of all the male athletes you can name. David Beckham in soccer. I'm not a soccer fan. I can even name him. The biggest name in soccer. Here's the point I'm getting at with that. You name any of those guys, they have endorsements up the wazoo for being able to sell, shoes, jerseys. They can make cups in their name. Shaquille O'Neal has a lot of different businesses. George Foreman in boxing has the Foreman grill. A lot of people buy it because of the name, but it's a really good item. And they marketed him because he suggested, because he's a big name. You name me more than 5 people in women's sports, and I'm not bashing women's sports. But that's just merchandising that these guys that I'm naming off are able to sell. And even today, there's still stuff being sold for Babe Ruth and DiMaggio. You name me women other than Megan Rapinoe and Brittany Griner and a couple other WNBA players, which I can't, off the top of my head, really name off a lot of them at all. You name me the time of endorsements. You have a football team that you go to watch. Let's say the Browns. Let's say Ohio State. You have 50 to 100,000 people that are selling $80 to $100 tickets. Sold out almost every time. You have women's sports. And again, I'm not bashing any of it. I'm all for women being able to play sports. I don't think a woman's able to play at a man's level, and I'm sorry if that's offensive. It's not my intent. But my thing is this. They're just as competitive. My daughter was on a softball team for several years. They are really, really competitive. Very athletic, very fun to watch. I'm not denying that. I know a bunch of people that has done wrestling, school wrestling, real wrestling. Fun to watch. Martial arts, fun to watch. Now, Ronda Rousey is one of those people that's in MMA. That's a lady that can really give you the tickets. She's going to get the same kind of money as a male would because she's one of the most well-known names. Gina Carano, another one. There's a couple other boxers, MMA fighters and boxers that are women's sports now that are very well known. Lana Ali, I think her name is. She's another one. Those are people that are able to get the same kind of ticket sales, or close to it, to what a guy can. And rightfully so. They are just as well. Ronda Rousey especially is one of the most well-known female names. She gets the buck. If she's involved, if she goes back to MMA and does another MMA fight, I guarantee you the tickets are there. She's one of the ones that will get the money that males get. But generally speaking, that don't happen. For a WNBA game, I don't know what tickets sell for, but I guarantee you they're not near as much as what it would be for a men's team of an NBA team. NBA teams sell anywhere between $50 to $150 a ticket, and I'm going cheap probably on some of that, depending where you are. I'm going more Ohio prices versus New York or Los Angeles. The merchandise sales are up through the roof. Jerseys, all that stuff. For women's sports, is it the same? I have not been to a WNBA game. I'm not big for going to professional sport games anymore. College I'll do from time to time, but professional, I'm just not there anymore. But, so you guys tell me, but I almost guarantee the tickets for a WNBA game, for women's golf, and I'm not saying they don't bring in the sales and they don't have merchandise. I'm not saying that by any means. But the point I'm getting with this is Brittany Griner, and I'm going back to that, committed a crime. Plain and simple. She's in Russia, and she's upset because she can't come home. She did a crime, drugs, whatever the case. I don't know what the full scenario is. I don't care if it's weed. I don't care what it is. If she's in trouble, she's going to have a consequence. People think that because, and here's the problem I have this is where I'm getting it with the whole thing. I'm saying a lot of stuff, but I'm really coming down to this, and here's my point. Athletes are put on a different pedestal than anybody else, and the reality is they should not be. They make money, I get it. They can get in trouble and they can get away with it. I feel like as good as he was as a football player, Ray Lewis is a guy that pretty much had a team pay for his way to get out of jail and to be on a football field. It happens. I accept that. O.J. Simpson could have had a lot harder sentence because he committed murder. It was a light sentence for him because he put a lot of money into it. And the list goes on. Movie stars, same way. I do think there's a lot of people that cry wolf, but I also think there's a lot of reality in it also. So, but if you do a crime, you do a sin, You're going to pay. Jesus literally says that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. The way to heaven is on a narrow road, not a wide road. The reason for that is because of the fact of the only way to heaven is not through good works or through being a good person, but believing with your mouth and believing in your heart and confessing with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord. It's the only way to heaven. There's nothing else that you can do that's going to put you to heaven except to believe in your heart and confess with your mouth. Jesus intended for all of us to go to heaven, but he also wanted to give us free will. He wanted us to be like him and have a choice. That's why the devil's around. People say, why does good things happen to bad people? Well, the reality is the fact that bad things happen to people because we have a devil. Bad things happen because the devil's trying to influence us to not be saved. Jesus did not live his life just being happy and accepting everything. He did not live life being happy his whole life. He was pursued by the righteous at the time, the so-called religious zealots, to be crucified. And he was hung on a cross and was totally taken apart piece by piece. Now, not literally, but I mean, they took his clothes, they beat him to the point of almost death. They mocked him and put a crown on his head, mocking him as a god, when he had a crown of thorns that was making him bleed badly, profusely. He had his best friend Lazarus, his family member, died. Lazarus died. And he didn't just be happy about it. He's like, oh, it's okay. No, he cried. Like a real human being, he cried. And to beat it all, to say how much Jesus was all about love, he went into a church. A synagogue at the time. But it was our today's church. And he didn't go in there to preach. He went in there to throw money tables, to throw things around and say, this is not what my house is for. It's not for sales and for marketing and for bannering and trading. It is a house of worship. It's a house of my Father. Jesus was not accepting of that. People went to stone a lady for being sinful and being a prostitute. Jesus sat there, played in the dirt. And when the woman got near him, he turned around, stood up, turned around, and said, you who are without sin, throw the first stone. He was not happy with religious zealots that was trying to stone a lady. He was upset with them. He was not accepting. He was keeping them accountable. He didn't threaten them. He didn't go after them. But he said, if you are with sin, throw the first stone. He said you are to love your brother and to love your God like you do yourself. First of all, if you're loving each other, you're not going to cause sin. God says our bodies are made for temples. Doing drugs, doing weed, whether legal or illegal, legal or illegal, if I can say that right, doesn't really matter. I mean, if you have to, that's a prescription, that's one thing. But to just do drugs because you can, your body's a temple and you're destroying it. Is it really, some of these drugs, are they really that bad for you? Caffeine's one of them. I've really cut down. It's bad for my body. I drink too much dark pop, I get kidney stones. I pay a price. You smoke, you lose your teeth, get cancer. It's legal. Some people consider it fun. Drinking, you can destroy your liver. Now, I'm not saying that it's all bad. Smoking, I'm against. It smells horrible. Allergic to it. Cigars, disgusting. Allergic to it. Weed, I'm majorly allergic to it. Can't breathe it without choking. But my point is this: our bodies are made to be temples. If we're hurting each other or hurting ourselves, then God considers it a sin. God says it's not just the act of sinning. Sometimes it's just the thought of sinning. If somebody has a expensive boat, somebody has a very, very expensive boat, I'll drive by a house and see a boat, and I'm like, I want that. It's kind of a joke. I would love to have a boat. If I don't get one, I'm okay with that. I don't desire to have somebody else's boat. I don't desire to lost my full train of thought, sorry. But my desire is to be there for my brothers. I want that more than anything else. To be there for the people that have no voice. To be there for the people that need help. I'm being real. You do a crime, you should pay. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. But Jesus says to stay accountable. Brittany Griner, I'm not sorry at all. She put herself in that situation. People are upset because they want to back her up. They have that right. You say that you shouldn't come back to this country like LeBron James. You have that right. Don't agree with it, but you have that right. The reality is, you do a crime, you do the punishment. Jesus was not always about love. Jesus was about doing what's right. And sometimes that went against the grain. 100 people jump off a cliff. Am I going to do it? It doesn't sound like fun if they jump off a cliff. Does it sound like fun to me? No, it doesn't. Why? Because I know jumping off a cliff, the ending of that jumping off could be death. I'll pass, thank you. I treasure life. God says not to commit murder. If I do that, then I commit suicide, which is a type of murder. No. Not going to happen. This is one of my more serious videos because my point's the same. I see a bunch of people saying we should be accepting of this and accepting of that. And the reality is Jesus says to keep each other accountable, to hold each other accountable, and that means going against the grain. If I'm going to go paint a wood block, I want to go with the grain. Sometimes you got to hit that spot where you just have to go against the grain. You don't have a choice. So you got to make up for it somehow. I'm not always going to be with the grain. But I will always pray and always be there for you. This is way longer than I intended it to be. Please like, share, and subscribe. But I'm praying for each and every one of you. When if you do a crime, you're going to pay. Period. Maybe not on earth, but in heaven you will still pay. Maybe as a kid, we got butt whoopings. Not fun. We deserved it. A lot of them I did. A couple of them I didn't. In my mind. At this point, I don't remember what they all were about sometimes. A couple of them I didn't really think I deserved. I don't know what they were about now. But it doesn't matter. It was still not fun. Either way. So, me and my dad had a good time with it sometimes. And it was never the spanking that was the problem. It was always that afterward talk. It hurts me more than it does you. Being a parent, I get it. I hate it when I have to spank my kid. Very rare that I've done it, but I hate it when I have. Anyway, you guys be blessed. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave me comments. Give me your thoughts. I really, really want thoughts. I've had a few. Mustache is coming in thicker. And thanks for paying attention. You guys be blessed.